Hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, the international Formula One podcast by fans for fans all around the world. My name's Arafat, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mohammed. Say hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed.
Mohammed, we just had the Spanish Grand Prix. In our show notes, I've written S brackets pain close brackets Grand Prix. But yeah, what we're going to get in today, a little bit of news. Let's talk about Sir Lance Stroll, Verstappen and his antics, and then a little bit of Lewis. Where's this? I sent you a video. I just wanted to play the audio of this video because it's I love it.
That video was so good.
It's just his voice. I'm like, oh god, this guy. Like, how can you be in the right and be so annoying at the same time?
That video. It's not even the audio from this time of year.
Not going this way. It lashes out with unnecessary anger and borderline violence. But
And borderline violence.
It's so good. Do you see his face when he's saying that? When anything is not going his way, he lashes out. It's so good. The whole video is so good.
And do you know what? Like, we'll obviously get to it when we talk about Verstappen, but I saw a video today from Dan Ticktum, Formula E driver, famously never made it to Formula One, not because of driving skill, but because of like his anger and potty mouth. And I think Russell compared Verstappen to Dan Ticktum, and Dan Ticktum was like, okay, Mr. Russell calling me out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my god, all like my, like, the worst of racing are ganging up on each other, and I don't know who I'm rooting for.
Oh my god, it's so funny. But you know what? I hate this race. I hate this race for making me agree with Max Verstappen against George Russell. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I feel like I just want to talk about it now. But when they got on the radio and told Max to give the position back to George, you know his reaction. Okay, look, there are like a couple different reactions people can have, right? Sometimes you can like know you're doing something wrong in your head, but you react in a way where you're just like, "What? Me? I didn't do that." And like everyone knows, like, come on, like you obviously like stop playing this game. But sometimes you genuinely react like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything." And that's how Max reacted. That's how Max reacted when they told him like, no action for you and Charles. He was like, oh, but Charles, you ran into it. And you could get the vibe that he was like, faking it a little bit because like he's just trying to, get something out of it. But when they got on the radio and they told him, you need to give the position back to George, the way he was like, I didn't do anything. I was ahead. I fully agreed with Max. I was like, if I were Max, I would not give that position up. He didn't do anything. He's truly not in the wrong here. And I was so mad on Max Verstappen's behalf. And that makes me, like, I can't believe that this race made me do that. I can't believe it made me side with Max Verstappen so strongly. I was like, he better not give it back. And then when he turned into George, I know this is the end of the episode, but when he turned into George, part of me was like, yeah. I wasn't like upset. I wasn't like, oh, black flag. Oh, he needs to get disqualified. Oh, unsafe. I was like, yeah, guys, we're all seeing the same thing here.
Yeah, we'll get to it. There's so many things that I want to say as well. But should we start with our news story? It's not our news story. It's a boring news story. But Cadillac, the 12th team or 11th team that's joining the grid, they've picked up a sponsor, Tommy Hilfiger, which left Mercedes last year so that George Russell could be like king of the chavs in his Adidas outfit. But what that's made me think is... Huh?
I hate the Adidas outfits. They look
it doesn't look good.
bad.
But what I think with Tommy Hilfiger signing is they will want to be able to market stuff. And for Bottas, who wants to get back on the grid, it's not that many people in Finland to sell stuff to. But I googled Tommy Hilfiger Mexico, and they make a lot of sales. So I think this helps Perez maybe.
No comment. But
you know what? Who else of all the potential people have the ability to sell Tommy Hilfiger clothes in a quantity good enough that it's worth them spending millions on a Formula One team? Obviously, when they were with Mercedes, they had Lewis Hamilton, and then that when he left, they left because they were like, "What are we gonna do? Get like Woody to sell clothes
Close.
to people?" So
Woody
they like
to sell
bounced.
Toy Story.
Yeah.
No, actually, the obvious answer is Mick Schumacher.
Who's he
I'm
gonna
just
sell
kidding.
stuff to?
I'm just kidding. He's gonna sell it to his 4 German fans. No, it actually does make sense. If that's why they're getting in and they want to sell, Perez is Daniel Ricciardo could do it. Actually, he has a pretty big following still, and he's selling his own clothes on Shantae. He's the only other one I think that could do it, but it's not a bad idea. And I will say, bringing Yuki into the car and seeing the immediate drop off in performance, and for people listening, I say that with air quotes because I don't think it's a true drop off, but seeing that kind of shows that Perez maybe wasn't that bad last year, and maybe the car really maybe he's just being proven right. I have it written down, as Toto Wolff said.
Yeah, I think Perez would actually be a good snag for any sort of midfield team because he brings experience. He's been with a couple of top teams. He knows he would be able to help a team move forward. You just look at Haas when they had people like Mick Schumacher and whatever his face is from Russia. What's his name?
Mazepin.
Oh yeah,
Marzipan.
Versus when they had Magnussen and what's his face? Nico Hülkenberg. God, I'm so tired. Yeah. So Nico Hülkenberg, Magnussen, they're just professional, good racing car drivers. Nobody looked at those guys and were like, whoa, these guys are going to be challenging Verstappen and Hamilton. But they were just solid drivers that were able to bring a team forward and deliver results and get those points when the opportunity was there. And I think a driver like Perez would help Cadillac do that.
It really depends because Cadillac has already said they're not going to have a good engine off the bat. So, what are you guys doing in this sport, right? Are you trying to get a couple years under your belt of getting your feet steady and then you're gonna do well? Because if that's the case, you do need an experienced driver. They're basically gonna do the Vettel thing, what Vettel did at Aston Martin. And that would be the intention. But there's so many good drivers. I think Daniel Ricciardo should still be in the sport. I think Perez should be in the sport. I think Alex Palou
Rice.
Alex Palou should still be. There are 4 Indian listeners that are going to hear that joke and laugh so hard, and everybody else is not going to understand what's going on. But yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think we should be seeing. I don't think it's a bad. I'm excited to see. I think Tommy Hilfiger should have gone to Ferrari to fix all their clothes. Their clothes are terrible. Oh, yeah. For so the bad. Italian team, Italy is the land of fashion. They have all these giant houses of fashion, and their clothing sucks. It's so bad. I don't even want to buy the Ferrari Polo because it's so bad.
I've not bought any of it. I'm still wearing my Mercedes. I mean, today I'm wearing Star Wars, but I still wear my Mercedes stuff or my old McLaren stuff because I just don't like any of the new Ferrari things. I want to get some someday.
Yeah.
One of these days. I'm hoping next year it looks much better. I'm going to get a Lewis top next year maybe.
The fan-made stuff isn't bad, but I don't want to get fan-made stuff, right? I want to get the team stuff, right? But some of the fan-made stuff is so good that I don't know.
My mug. I forgot to tell you I got another Drive Crate.
Ooh, look at my hat. I didn't get this from Drive Crate.
Nice. I got a Drive Crate. It had this mug. It had a bunch of other stuff, but it was left outside in the rain and it got soggy.
Did everything else get destroyed?
No, I got some socks. They were wet. And everything else was in packaging. There was a 300-piece puzzle, and I was like, I'm not doing that anytime soon.
It's completely soaked? It was raining that bad?
No, yeah, the puzzle is fine because it's in plastic. Everything else was in plastic inside the box and was fine.
Yeah, but the box itself got ruined.
Yeah, the box got ruined.
That's a really nice looking mug, though. I hate that Mercedes' merch generally looks so good.
Yeah, black and green.
Take it away. I hate Mercedes.
I'm sorry.
Except for Kimi.
But you were talking about Vettel there. So should we go back to Aston Martin and talk about His Royal Highness Lance Stroll?
Sir Lancelot.
So he missed out on Q2 or did bad in Q2. You know what? To be honest, I wasn't even paying attention to him, so who knows where he was. But he got so upset in qualifying. The story alleges he then lost his temper in the garage, punched a bunch of stuff, and exacerbated his pre-existing wrist injury from when he broke his hands cycling last year. The team was specifically asked about this, and they went, did he get angry and lose his temper, and that's how he broke his wrists? And then someone on the pit wall was like, I was on the pit wall, I saw nothing. And it's like, if it didn't happen, you would say, it didn't happen, not, I wasn't there.
No.
And then the team representative just said, well, Lance was upset. That's the only line they're going with. Lance was upset.
But did you see the other thing? There was like a follow-up where they're like, after the Lance was upset, and they're like, Lance was upset. It is unrelated to his hand injury. Which, like, if you have to then say that...
The PR.
It reminds me of when Andy in the office punched the wall the second time. For some reason, I see it like that, like and then he punches the wall.
Andy is Lance Stroll. I'm just having a quick think. All the characters
he is
in all the characters in The Office. Let's go through them quickly. So Michael Scott,
we've
awkward,
actually done this
annoying,
as an entire episode before.
Yeah.
We called Michael Scott. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Michael Scott is Mattia Benato in that version of the episode.
Oh, right. I was going to say George Russell, just with drivers right now.
Okay.
George Russell. And then Pam and Jim, Lando and Pam.
Pam can be Lando. Jim can be Oscar.
Yeah. No, I was going to go the other way.
Oh, really?
Because Jim, by the end, is like, does some shady stuff, and you're like, I liked you. Are you a bad guy?
Okay.
So
Pam
he can be
like
Lando.
Cute and lovable the whole time. So Oscar.
Yeah. And then Dwight is Max Verstappen. Like, very, very good at what they do, but unable to human properly.
Lewis is Danny Cordray, who comes in, he's just like that superstar seller.
Comes in, leaves. Yeah. Who's Creed? Who's the
Alonso.
old man? Creed is Bottas.
Yes.
100% Creed is Bottas. Kevin?
Is, who's like the himbo of the grid? Hulkenberg, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. They seem to have gotten rid of all of them. And then, what other characters are there?
Gasly is Ryan.
Yes. Who's Kelly then? Yuki.
Yes.
Great. Right.
Ocon is
back to Stroll.
Blob. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
Stroll is Ryan from The Office. I mean, Andy from The Office.
Yeah.
He's punched a wall.
He did qualifying and then withdrew and was like, I'm in too much pain, I can't drive. Apparently he's been in pain for 6 weeks. And for obvious, they've not specified when he's coming back, but I guess it's because he needs to go through assessments, and they said he's going to have a procedure and this and that. So I guess the uncertainty of it all means they can't really say when he's going to come back. Do you think Dragovich will be in the car? Who was in the car when he broke his wrist the first time?
It was honestly probably like Franco Colapinto or something.
Yeah. I think no one was in it because he came back so quickly.
Yeah.
Was he?
I think they should put Dragovich in the car. I don't know if they will, but I know we have a lot of doctors that listen to this podcast. Obviously, you and I are both doctors on the medicine side. If there are any surgeons that listen to this podcast, I want you to message us at Slow Pit Stop, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and just tell me, have any of your patients ever not had crippling pain? Because on the medicine side, all I deal with are patients who have crippling pain from botched surgeries. I see it so much.
Yeah. Like, the amount of people that I see having dodgy surgical procedures and having pain afterwards, I'm like, this is not a good idea.
When my genuine reaction when they said Lance Stroll has post-op pain that's lasted 2 years or whatever was actually not to doubt it, but I actually completely believed it because I've seen it so much in my practice. And then I was like, but he had like the best orthopedic surgeon probably work on his hand.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be in so much pain. So I don't understand what's happened there, you know. But Are you searching our
Mm.
listenership to look for surgeons that we can
No, so there's a
accost?
hand surgeon that
This is making great podcast material. I'm watching Arafat scroll
Yes.
on his phone.
Scroll on my phone. Anyway, so there was a hand surgeon in
Yeah.
Australia called Simon Fleming. You can find him on Twitter, called OrthopodReg. And I had a discussion with him the first time Lance broke his wrist. And I said, blah, 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 what's all of this? I said, at that time, I was like, he passed the extraction test in the garage on his second attempt, but not after an hour of racing when he would have been more tired. And I said, I guess that's what the tests are for. We operate on people who then play 80 minutes of contact sports and all that stuff. So if you're fit and safe, you're fit and safe. So I guess it's, if Lance Stroll can pass the tests when he comes back in the simulator and the extraction test and whatever else, he should be allowed to race. Is this a secret ploy to retire him sideways and be like, oh, Lance didn't come back to F1 not because he was kicked out, but because he left because of injury?
So
his
I
dad
genuinely
can't fire him.
Here's my no. But here's the thing. I've come to this conclusion after the last 30 seconds of thinking of it. I think his dad can fire him. And I think we all have it wrong. Because it's actually a very famous trope that rich parents cut their kids off or whatever if they don't do what they want, or if they're not making the money, if they're not whatever. It happens all the time where it's the rich spoiled brat is I got cut off by my parents. Because generally the parents are the ones who worked hard to make the money and the kids are the ones that just kind of live off of it. I actually think Aston Martin is happy with their driver lineup. Because Stroll is scrolling them. Stroll is scoring them points. And
I'd say he's a very
he's a good driver.
I think
he's
the problem is
solid. Sometimes he's
fine,
solid.
yeah.
We said this last time. He's very peaky. He peaks and then he gets really low. Then he peaks and then he gets really low.
And I think that his problem is he's not so good that you can completely justify keeping him forever, but he's not so bad that he deserves to be dropped. I remember a lot of people wrote about Bottas last year, and they were like, Bottas is the sort of always the bridesmaid driver. He wasn't good enough for any team to keep, but he wasn't bad enough that nobody had a discussion with him. And he was Alpine's second choice, Haas's second choice, Sauber's second choice. It was he was everybody's second choice. And I think had Stroll not had the family backing, he would have been relatively in the same sort of thing where people would have considered him, but I don't think he would have been anybody's first choice.
No, having a strong sponsor, aka his dad who owns the team, has definitely kept him in the sport. But I don't think that's the only thing that's kept him. I genuinely think there's a level of talent there that's allowed him to continue to stay in the sport. And I think
someday he needs to go.
Yes, and you know when that day is? How old is Lance Stroll? Let me look it up real quick. Lance Stroll age.
The way they manage that from a PR perspective is his injury, blah, blah, blah. He's decided to move sideways. He's going to go to Endurance Championship or something. They're never going to say Lance has been dropped from our Formula One team because of poor performance. They're going to say his injuries mean that he cannot race any longer at this level.
They're going to say Lance Stroll retires at the tender age of 40, and he's going to retire in 2039. He's 26 right now. He'll retire in 14 years. He'll race until 2039, and he'll be the next old man on the grid.
Very good. Speaking of old man on the grid, should we talk about Verstappen? Isn't it crazy that Verstappen's the third or fourth oldest? Hulkenberg, Alonso, and Hamilton are the only people older than him, I think, maybe. Is anyone else?
I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of that. He is...
It's weird, right?
He is now a father. And initially when he joined, he was the teenage kid, a la Isaac or all those guys. That's who he was when he joined. And he now is the daddy on the grid.
Yeah.
All right. I gave you my take on his crash into George. I thought it was justified. What is your take?
So I don't think it's justified. Here's my deal. Christian Horner specifically talked about the fact that he's we don't have access to the referee who can just say play on or swap that back. So we made a judgment based on previous examples and thought, well, maybe this, that. But actually, they can't see what's happening in Russell's car. They don't have the extra data.
So you think it was a genuine
So
mistake?
they gave him I think Red Bull made a mistake telling him to swap around.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think he needed to give the position back to George. But when he banged into George, I think because both of them were able to just carry on racing, that is something that should have been dealt with after the race, rather than a 10-second penalty in the race. Because the whole thing of, people historically have had, like Vettel in Baku, had the 10-second stop and go. It wasn't a 10-second penalty, it was 10-second stop and go. Michael Schumacher in 1997 was disqualified from the entire championship for crashing into someone. But it's about like intention. Like Vettel's, when he crashed into Hamilton, it was a very deliberate thud into the side of him. And what surprised me more was, like, Verstappen himself. Remember when he brake tested Lewis in Saudi?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was a much bigger crime.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so when Nico Rosberg was on and was like, black flag, there was a bit of me that was like, I really hope they give him a black flag just for the drama of watching Verstappen explode.
So
just to see him freak out and lose his mind over the stewards. I was like, I need to see that drama. And I was like, please give him a black flag just so that I can see, like, what happens when they finally push him over the edge.
Yeah.
What was it? I don't know. I like the whole thing of him crashing into George. And do you see, at the beginning of the session, he was hitting a cone that Ferrari were leaving outside the garage because he didn't like where they were leaving it. And like, he can put an F1 car precisely where he wants to put it. He can hit a cone or this or that or whatever. So I don't believe that he crashed into George by accident. I think Verstappen, of all people, knows how to control a Formula One car.
He can look in
and the
his
next day he
mirrors.
and the next day he put out a statement on Instagram saying that move wasn't right. Like, he didn't admit blame. He didn't admit it was deliberate or this. The crash, the whatever it was, wasn't right. That's the sort of vague way he's worded it.
So I think... Okay, sorry, continue.
No, and I was just going to say, I walked into a bay today at work. So everyone knows, doctors, blah, 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 hospital. There was 4 old men sat for their various reasons to protect their confidentiality in the hospital. And all of them were debating on, will Verstappen stay in Formula One or not? And they all had that thing of, he crashed into George.
Wait, hold on.
Really bad.
Were these like older guys, or like they were our age?
No, these are like 75 plus. And they were like, it's so bad that he crashed into George. But it is George. You can kind of understand. It's like... And then they were all talking about...
That's what I said.
And they were talking about, oh, well, how long is it before Verstappen just walks away because he's fed up of it all? They were like, he could have a very, very long career like Lewis or Alonso, but I don't think he will. I think eventually he's going to snap and just want to walk. And there was a bit of me that was like, for the drama, I want to see them give him a black flag to see what he does.
No, they should. They gave Nico Hülkenberg a black flag for his car being messed up or whatever, right? And it was like a big deal because they hadn't done that in like 10 years. And like, just do it for racing incidents. Stop being so like pansy and just do it. When people drive badly, you should just give them the black flag. That being said, I think Verstappen was justified in doing it. Sometimes you just need to get a black flag. You know how in soccer they say take the penalty, right? Like in that case, you just take the penalty. Sometimes, just take the penalty.
Do you see, but Russell, afterwards when he was doing his interviews, it was like, you could see the glee inside him and he was trying to hold it in and he was like, some of us, we like to race properly. And it's like, I'm just like, why is it you of all people?
So, I thought Nico Rosberg being on the episode being on the commentary was so funny because he was just so like emotional and dramatic about things in ways that the other Sky commentators aren't. They're all very reserved, very on the fence. They're very much like BBC, like they'll never take a side. Whereas Rosberg was just calling it as he sees it, which I didn't agree with everything.
He's such a good commentator.
Saying. I didn't agree with everything he was saying. Like when he was like, Lewis he's probably depressed as heck in that car. Look, he's about to get passed. Oh my god, everything sucks for Lewis. I was like, all right, okay, Rosberg, let's tamp it down. But it was funny how he immediately called for the black flag, and then he said, this reminds me of when Valentino Rossi crashed into Marc Marquez. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because listeners of the podcast will know I have been canceled on the internet once already for my viewpoints on Formula One, specifically regarding George Russell. People have contacted my employer and complained about me. This is completely true. Folks on the internet, I have been canceled a second time for my opinions on Formula One.
Read it out. It's so funny. Where is this? Is this on Instagram?
I
couldn't find it on my phone.
It was on Instagram. It's an account called F1 Maya, and she posted context for that Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi incident. But in the comments, because in that video she has Nico Rosberg's commentary where he says, "Does anybody remember Valentino Rossi crashing to Marc Marquez? That's what it reminds me of." So I put as a comment, "Does Nico remember when Nico crashed into Lewis in Spain 2016?" And I said purposely crashed into Lewis in Spain 2016. And initially I did that and I forgot about it. And I woke up to like so many notifications. That was my first sign that something had gone terribly wrong. That comment now on Instagram has more than 2,000 likes and have all these people replying to my comment.
No way.
Somebody said...
Where is it? There's too many F1 Mayas on thing. You have to send me the link or just write my name underneath it so I can find it.
Yeah, I'll tag you in it. Somebody went, "You need an eye test." Somebody said, "Bro, you know nothing about racing." That hurt me the most. I know nothing about racing. I know a little bit about racing. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to make a comment more than that. I just know a tiny bit about racing. He said, "You know nothing about racing. Lauda, if Lauda says it was Lewis's fault, it's because it's true, not because he's a 4-time world champion, because he was a Mercedes member." And then somebody else said, "Wrong way, it was Lewis's fault, bot." I guess I'm the Lewis bot.
Oh yeah, I never realized you were a bot.
But the comments, there's so many of them. There's so many comments. And then one of them I put, "You're right, you guys. I think it was probably Nico's fault 50% of the way and Rosberg's fault 50% of the way." And somebody replied to that comment and saying, "Then why did you make your comment in the first place?" And it's just so funny to me. Folks, I have been canceled again on the internet for this time defending, not really defending Max, more about coming at Nico a little bit. And then I went to the initial Spain 2016 video that I'm referring to, which was on the opening lap of Spain 2016. For those people who may not know, I don't really know. Maybe it was Lewis's fault. No, it was. Lewis has done nothing wrong in his life ever. He tried to overtake. Yeah.
No, so he tried to go on the inside. And Lauda says he saw that the red light was flashing, which means he's doing engine harvesting. He's accidentally switched on engine harvesting, right? So he's like, he should know Nico now has a speed deficit. And therefore, Lewis should have gone around the outside because Nico couldn't have defended that. That's what Lauda said. It wasn't that this was 100% Lewis's fault.
I need you to comment on Instagram and defend me. I'm going to tag you. As soon as we're done recording, yes, I'm going to tag you so you can defend me.
He was like, yes, Nico moved across, but if Lewis had more situational awareness, he would have overtaken around the outside, and then he would have never put himself in a dangerous position. That's what Lauda said.
When you watch the clip, it's so obvious. I can't believe we're debating this from 10 years ago. But when you watch the clip, it's so obvious.
I was there.
Lewis, I know. That was one of your first F1 races, right? Or maybe your first one?
I know. They're like, they all went past me. And then they all came around. And I was like, where are the Mercedes?
That's so good. But when you're watching it, you can see Lewis go, and then Nico just closes the gap. He doesn't leave a car's width. And so, of course, Lewis goes onto the grass and then crashes into him. It is never Lewis's fault. But in the comments of that video, there's a comment where somebody's like, "Legend has it, Nico fans are still arguing this was Lewis's fault." And I was like, yes, they are. In my replies. They're doing it in my replies.
God, yeah. Tag me in. We'll have some fun.
Yeah. And those people ignore Austria, which happened the same year, which was way more obvious that Nico crashed into Lewis. And they ignore, where was it when Baku, when he went off into the thing to cause a yellow flag to slow down Lewis's lap so he couldn't be on pole. That was Baku, I think, right?
And Monaco. No, he just stopped the car in Monaco.
Yeah, Monaco. Not Baku. I knew it was a street track. Yeah, Monaco. He just...
Nico Rosberg, at the time, he was irritating because I'm obviously a big Lewis fan. But actually, he's diabolical. I hope he writes a book one day about how he won that championship.
Diabolical. How I won that championship.
Yeah.
Speaking of Nico, though, on that note, I remember you told me that anytime it's just like a Lewis teammate, you just automatically don't like the teammate because you support Lewis. Generally, I've agreed with you, but getting into the team, and I had no bad feelings towards Charles Leclerc. I was like, I like Charles.
Yeah, same.
He's getting along with Lewis. All of that changed the second Leclerc got on the podium this race, because having started behind Lewis and then got past him and then got on the podium. And now my heart is broken.
So I have no specific anger. It's more confusion. Like, I'm not mad at Nico Hülkenberg for overtaking Lewis. I'm almost not mad at them swapping Charles Leclerc around with Lewis. I'm a bit like, why is Lewis's car so slow? Like, Lewis has not forgotten how to drive a Formula One car. I'm just bewildered as to what is happening. Even when they asked Lewis, he was like, I don't know, they won't find anything. It's just me. I'm like, it's not just you, because when the car's working, you were able to like win the sprint in China.
Yeah.
You're able to qualify better than Leclerc. Leclerc is an amazing qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to qualify it. And I was thinking about it. And I was like, did they set the car up too much towards qualifying that they just compromised race pace? But I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that engineering department.
It's not always that you watch a car go backwards, and especially not with Lewis, because I feel like if he's ever had a setup where the car should go backwards, his talent will at least keep him still. Like, he'll just stay where he'll be stuck in 6th place the whole time. But this was a very rare opportunity where we saw him go backwards. And it's sad because he's pretty good at Spain. A couple years ago, he clashed in the first lap, I think with Nico Hülkenberg, spun out and then rejoined in 15th and then fought his way back up to 3rd or 4th. And that was in like the crappy Mercedes era. So he's very good at this track, and it was very disappointing to watch him race. And he was heartbroken at the end of it. And I was heartbroken at the end of it. I took a depression nap. That's how you know.
I remember like the race wasn't even finished and you went to start your depression nap. I think it was before
it was like 4 laps
just as they were on the last lap.
Yeah.
3 laps left. Yeah. You went and started your depression nap, and I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, I think I was so upset that I just went total nothing. Like, I have no feelings towards this because I don't know how else to react.
At what point do the lows of Formula One outweigh the highs of Formula One? And at what point do we just stop? Do we just say enough is enough? I'm not watching this anymore.
No, I don't think so. I think, remember the 2 races where Lewis wasn't there because he had COVID?
Yeah.
That was enjoyable in a different way. Like, the reason I came to watch Formula One was because as a kid and everything, I loved cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the love for cars will always be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one day Lewis will retire.
Mm-hmm.
Alonso will go forever, but one day Lewis will retire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I will still enjoy watching Formula One. But I'll be less... I think when Lewis does badly, I get upset. Whereas once he's gone, of all the other drivers, I might be like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to see Antonelli win. Oh, it'd be nice to see Oscar win, whatever. But if they don't win, I won't care. And so I think it'll be nice to watch it like that without having the emotional highs and lows. But I don't think it will ever be something that I wouldn't be interested in.
That's fair. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think the lows of watching Lewis do poorly, they probably match the highs.
Yeah, I think because you didn't get to have the highs. So I watched him go through like 2011.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I missed
and all of that. So that was all low. And I remember watching it at a point and thinking, I'm so glad he at least won that in 2008 and isn't going to leave the sport with nothing.
Mm.
And then we got to like 2014, like bang, 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 enjoyment.
Yeah.
And then this is just a different phase again. But I think it sort of recalibrated what a high is, because 2020, 2021, anything that wasn't world champion was not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, if Lewis wins a Grand Prix, I will freak out. Like, I'll be so excited and so happy.
Yeah.
It'll mean more than a whole world championship right now. And that's that I'm looking forward to.
Who do you think wins it this year? Oscar's ahead again.
Oscar.
You think he's the favorite now?
Well, Oscar's won 5 races and Lando's won what, 2? 3? 2.
I don't remember.
Lando's only 10 points behind.
Hmm.
And it's that thing of they both just need to consistently be on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever doesn't have a DNF will be world champion.
Yeah, literally, Oscar finishing P3 brought Lando within 3 points of him. After Oscar won multiple races, just finishing P3 was enough to erase that lead.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something bold. I think Lewis Hamilton's going to win the championship this year. Sorry, did I say bold? I meant something delusional. I'm going to say something delusional.
It's okay. We can live in that world now. I thought you were going to be like Verstappen wins, and I was like, oh god.
No.
I can't deal with that.
Verstappen's going to get a black flag for crashing into George. If Verstappen wins this year, if Verstappen would win this year,
oh no,
there's no hope if Verstappen wins this year.
Then we can stop watching.
Yeah, I think that's.
Do you know what I find really funny? Like, do you know all these like big famous rivalries like Hunt, Lauda, and like Senna and Prost and all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Famous rivalries, Schumacher, Hakkinen, Schumacher, Alonso, whatever. Like, yes, Verstappen had that very, very intense year with Hamilton in 2021, but the person he seems to keep like crashing into and having all this stuff is George Russell.
At a certain point, the George Max crashes are gonna outweigh the Lewis Max crashes. It's gonna be so funny.
And it's like, to win all those championships, to, you know, have that year of 2021, all of that, and to have your career somehow framed as Verstappen versus Russell is really funny.
When Russell was never even a championship contender, which makes it even that much funnier. I really hope, even if Lewis never wins, this is so bad. I'm gonna get canceled a third time. Even if Lewis never wins another championship, I just hope George never competes for a championship. If that happens, I will be happy. I will be so happy. If George retires, like if he loses his seat in like 4 years because Mercedes has dropped him, the midfield teams don't want him, they all want Perez and his Mexican money, and he has to leave the sport, and he's never competed for a championship, that would be so funny. That would just be the funniest thing ever. Oscar is 1 win away from equaling Leclerc's win total of 8 wins. What do you make of that?
And Ricardo.
I
mean, yes, it's hard to compare because before a season would have like 10 races, and now a season has about 55 races. F1 race winners. I'm just looking up the list of winners by the number of races that they've won. Most of them per season. Where is it? Okay, let's look at people that have won a similar number of races. Gasly's won 1, and then 7 is Piastri. Who's he tied with? Like, it's crazy that he's won just as much as Juan Pablo Montoya.
Ooh.
Like, in my head, Montoya is someone that's won a lot. So Leclerc's on 8, Ricardo's on 8, Mark Webber's on 9, Bottas is on 10. Like, you know, back
Webber's
in the day,
on 9?
before
Bottas is on 10?
Yeah. You know, before Hamilton and Verstappen, if you ignored the crazy outlier of like Schumacher, Senna, most people had a career where they won. No, good drivers won 10 races. Like Barrichello in his entire career won 11 races. Felipe Massa 11, Andretti 12, Graham Hill 14, Jenson Button 15 races he won. And then you suddenly get into like Jim Clark 25, Alonso 32, all of these sort of things. So yeah, the people at the top have skewed what we think a normal career is, whereas actually to have 1 win is huge. To have 10 is, I think, a very respectable overall career. And Piastri is about to be at that.
That's right, because if you say the list of people like 7 and above, they're all notable Formula 1 names, right? Like nobody's like there's no nobodies on the list. Those are all notable.
I know it's hard
people.
to compare because when these people race, like Jody Scheckter, James Hunt, James
Hunt's
on 10.
You need to like correct for inflation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think percentage-wise, Oscar is obviously going to be on a lot less. But in terms of
So
pure
how long was the season back
numbers,
then? Like, actually, like 12 races, 14 races? Do you remember?
so like very, very early on, some of these their seasons used to be like 6 races, 10 races,
Oh, wow.
and then
Okay.
it sort of became 14, 15. Schumacher, when in his time, it was like 15, 16 races. So the fact that we're on like 24 races a year now is a huge number.
All they do is race, 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 no matter what. Got money on their mind. All right. I think that's our episode. Is there anything else that pressing things that you want to talk about from Spain?
Spain. No, we'll hopefully have some friends on next week who actually went to the race and just talk about what it's like attending a Formula One race and good things, bad things, and memories.
Indeed. I remember the second Formula One race I ever went to. Lewis was disqualified. Worst moment of my entire life. So I know exactly what it's like.
Yeah, so I went to Spain and then I went to Singapore when he like had a puncture or something. We were just going backwards.
Stop going to
I
races.
went to Silverstone. I went to Silverstone and he finished second rather than first. I've never seen him win. Live.
I actually had a like streak of seeing him on the podium over and over until Canada last year when he finished fourth. Not so sad, but
sad.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please find this F1 account on Instagram and defend me in the comments. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.